This is the Rush Discuss, where the discuss is Rush. Welcome to week 3 of our least popular bracket, and today we will be diving into Superconductor from Presto and Wish Them Well from Clockwork Angels. So before we get super into it, just a warning: if you haven't listened to the entirety of Clockwork Angels before, I'm not going to say you have to absolutely listen to it to understand Wish Them Well, but the story of the album is going to get ruined for you if you don't already know it.
Yeah.
It's not like
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. It's not like the story is overly complicated. This is the second to last song on the album, and so the character's gone through quite an arc, and so what we discuss will kind of ruin that arc for you if you haven't listened to that album before.
Now all I want to go do is listen to Clockwork Angels straight through instead of recording this podcast. So thank you, Adam.
Highly recommend that album.
Yeah. Anyway.
Such a good album. We still haven't read the book, but that is on our list.
We have a lot of things going on.
Yes. All right, but we will start with Superconductor. Like I said, this is from the Presto album, an album that gets a lot of hate.
Okay, I was just in some random forum online, and there was a thread started of why does Superconductor hate, or why does no one like Superconductor? And then one of the comments was like, why the bunny hate for Presto?
Yeah, I feel like Presto is one of those divisive albums because it is a very transitional album yet again.
I really
kind of like
enjoy
with Signals, how a lot of people jumped off the Rush bandwagon as soon as Signals hit. I feel like that could very well be a similar thing for Presto, because all the people who maybe got on the Rush bandwagon because of Signals and the 80s synth albums, this would be an album that has kind of turned away from that and is going more towards the 90s sounds. And so if that wasn't what you were interested in, then I could see why this would be an album that you decided to piece out on.
I think it's a culture shock album, honestly. Like, it is nothing like anything else, and it's an acquired taste of an album. Definitely
that was the case for me. When I first listened to Presto, I didn't like it. I wanted to like it, but I just didn't. There were some moments that I enjoyed, but overall, I was not a big fan. Available Light, the very last song on that album, that was one that I warmed up to quicker, but even so, that's a song that, even in the context of the album, it's an outlier.
I actually really liked this album from the beginning because my introduction into Rush was unique in that I was listening to every album in chronological order and was able to appreciate and see their progression and be able to listen to every single song with the lyrics in front of me. And so I came to this album with a different kind of approach and appreciation of the band already. And also I think if I had listened to it as a teen, I wouldn't have appreciated it or liked it at all. But I feel like, I don't mean this in like a hoity-toity, like, oh, I'm so smart, but I feel like my background and experience in music and study of music has helped me in the time that I listened to it to be able to appreciate it in a different way than I think I would have earlier in my life. And so I think because of that, I really took to it right away, but I do not think that would have been true at least 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, and for me, because Roll the Bones was also that way for me, I did not enjoy it at the outset.
That was the opposite. I was obsessed. Sorry, go on.
But doing exactly what Julianne was talking about, listening from the start of their career through to the end, it helped me appreciate their progression a lot more. And it's helped me realize that a lot of times the things that we don't like at first are simply just because we don't understand the context. We don't understand the nature of what it is.
You mean like the entire band of Rush to the rest of the world?
Yeah. But music in general, there are so many aspects to music that a lot of people don't understand, that if it's a concept that's outside of what they've been brought up on, outside of what they're used to, it can be an immediate turnoff, and then they just go through life thinking, "Oh, I don't like this," and so then they never listen to it.
Yeah.
Kind of like me as a teenager, could not stand hip hop or rap or any of that realm of music, but I always enjoyed R&B and soul and that sort of stuff. But I always drew the line, hard line, hip hop, no rap. But understanding the culture behind it more and educating myself on the elements of music that are involved in the elements of poetry and kind of what that world was about, I can now appreciate it more. It's not my first choice of music, but I have a greater appreciation for it, and I don't immediately just tune it out and just say, "Oh, I hate it, I can't stand it." It's not my first preference of music, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate the tradition of it. And I think if we approach a lot of the stuff that we don't like in that way of seeking for the context and educating ourselves on it, it may not become our favorite, but we can at least appreciate the artistry that goes into it.
Yeah, and then appreciate its place in the world. And with that, we should talk about Superconductor, a song a lot of people dislike quite a bit.
Package like a rebel or a hero. Target mass appeal. Make an audience feel he really needs it. Package the illusion of persona. Careful to conceal.
Yeah, so just from that start, it's really easy for me to pinpoint some reasons why people wouldn't like it.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
Just like the weird melody and the way that his voice sounds and the kind of, I don't know, to maybe just an uninteresting guitar riff, repetitive guitar riff.
yeah, and it's an odd choice for it to be in 7. Like it's already a jarring riff, and then to put it into 7/4, it has that lurching feel, which, I mean, it's not a bad choice, but it is a choice that can be a turnoff. And we were almost 30 seconds in, and it was still the same thing. The rest of the fullness that we're used to with Rush isn't sitting there.
That's the whole album too. I think that's what a lot of people don't enjoy about this album is it sounds different than that. It's not as full. You're right. It's not a naked sound, but it's just, I don't know, stripped. It sounds stripped down.
Yeah, this was
In
their
some
attempt to recapture their sound from before the synths.
Right.
And I don't think it was as successful. I think where they really kind of clicked and recaptured what they were going for in that regard was Counterparts. I think that's where they finally hit their stride of, this is Rush reimagined and going back to our roots.
Right. So this album, like you were saying, can kind of turn people off a little bit because it's not what you would expect. But all that being said, I quite enjoy this song, Superconductor. I used to run all the time, and one of my favorite songs to run to was Superconductor. It was just driving kind of a song, and it's entertaining. The song kind of makes me
That's
chuckle.
entertainment.
Good one. That's entertainment. Yeah, exactly. It's entertainment. Like, this song cracks me up, and it was always engaging to listen to while I was running, and made me appreciate it in a whole new way as well. And it just cracks me up, like the whole in the chorus is the superconductor line that echoes 3 times and 2 times and 1 time as you go through the chorus. And I'm just like, what a funny choice. I just think it's funny. But I do enjoy listening to it as well.
Yeah. And I mean, the lyrics are always going to be the strong point with stuff like this, which I think is a strong point of Rush, in that even with songs that are maybe a miss on the music and maybe don't stand up to the level of all the other lyrics, the lyrics still are way better than most lyrics of any band.
Oh, yeah, totally. And getting to see, I think we've talked about this quite a bit before, but the way Neil sees the world and sees entertainment and his perception and opinion on things are in his lyrics. And I really appreciate those viewpoints. And especially in a song like this, that's talking about being an entertainer and that world of entertaining.
Yeah, just kind of the journey it takes you on, kind of putting you in the shoes of the entertainer. Just starting with the first lyrics, packaged like a rebel or a hero, target mass appeal to make an audience feel he really means it. And I love that double entendre there, that to make an audience feel he really means it. So he's trying to convince them that he really does feel that way. But then there is that element that he really means it.
Right. That's what actors do. Oh, he really means it. I like the little farther down in the lyrics. It's in the chorus, that orchestrate illusions. Mm-hmm. That's just the epitome of what any entertainer does. Which
then also highlights another double meaning there with superconductor as the physics term, but then also orchestrate illusions. You become a superconductor of an orchestra.
Oh, I hate that. I never noticed that before.
Just those little things crack me up, just that wit. And then
that's so funny. I just never noticed that.
And then you go to the next verse, and it's talking about how now these actors have internalized what they're doing. He can put a target on the market, bask in your applause, reality withdraws, now he believes it. The role becomes the actor. She's addicted to applause, the stage a world because she never leaves it.
So deep for a song that most people just wave off and think is annoying, probably.
Yeah, but these songs do have value, even if you think the music is not up to Rush's standard. You can still have a lot that you can learn from the lyrics. And
totally.
These lyrics, I think these lyrics are very poignant, and they speak to kind of that razor's edge, to quote another song from this album. But that edge that people have to walk when they are performing, especially as an actor, it can be something that can be very dangerous if you don't section off from yourself and you don't create a good barrier where you can always know what's real and what's not.
So back to the musicality, this is a rare Rush song, actually. Me and Adam were talking about that. It has two or three. Well, okay, so it's the main key and then what? And then it goes up another step. What? So then it's 2 key changes.
Yeah, it's got those two at the very end.
So back to the musicality of this song. This is actually a rare Rush song in that it has 2 key changes. That is not a very common thing that Rush did, but it was a very, I don't know what word to use, cliche thing, I suppose, in any music of the, any era of the 70s rock, the pop music, those cliche key changes, going up half a step key change that you just kind of like step into. That was really nothing that Rush did, because I think it's very obvious. But I think in this case it's brilliant because it's talking about, I don't know, the way the world is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's not like they never change keys in other songs.
In this way.
Yeah, in this specific way, the way that they handle this key change is no preparation, no warning. They just, boom, new key.
Which
at the start of the chorus again. Well, if you could call it a chorus, but at the watch his every move, they change keys right on watch. And normally, if you're going to do a key change, that's not just, like Julianne said, not just cliche and not just obvious. You're going to have a little bit of build up to it. You're going to maybe modulate into some chords that kind of get you there in a roundabout way, that when the key change finally hits, it's not jarring.
Yeah, and I think that's like the brilliance of it, of talking about this world of entertainment. And it's just like, okay, let's take this even more over the top of, let's go up a half step. Okay, let's go up another half step. Let's make it even more cheesy. And I think that's brilliant. And I think that should be recognized about this song. But I'm not sure if anybody's gotten that far in this song of listening to it to hear those key changes or even know what they're listening to if you don't know a lot about music. But it's almost like if it was going to be a classical piece of music, it'd be like a scared so because it makes me laugh. It's just so funny.
And another thing about the key changes, the way that I always interpreted it was kind of a reflection of what they're talking about, of manufacturing entertainment and using any sort of tricks to re-engage the listener, to re-engage the consumers of this entertainment. Any tricks to reel them back in, because when you do a key change like that in popular music, a lot of times if it's an unskilled arranger or it's an unskilled artist, those key changes really are designed to kind of be a cop-out out of having any real substance. And so I think it's brilliant that they used it to kind of underline the whole message of the song, that a lot of the entertainment that we consume is just manufactured specifically to keep us engaged, even if there's no real substance.
It's a party trick. It's a brilliant party trick done twice. It's almost, showing how the human race enjoys repetition and things that are pleasing to their ears, kind of a thing. It's really brilliant. So that's a really big selling point on this song for me.
Now, it might seem that we just can't stand this song or that it's something that we never listen to, but...
I mean, I've spent this entire podcast saying I like this song.
Yeah, but just with the things that we're bringing up, it could come across that way, that we're just ragging on it. But I do really enjoy this song. I never skip it when it comes on. It might not be my first choice of like starting my rush listening, but when it does come on, I enjoy it quite a bit. And I really enjoy some of the musical things that they do throughout the song.
Including Getty's That's Entertainment.
That one always makes me chuckle, but also cringe a little bit.
Which I think is the point.
Yeah.
Make you cringe because it's like, yeah. Like that's what the world does. Cringy things.
Yeah.
I think that was a pretty good cover of...
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead and give that a full listen. Give it a little bit more respect if you haven't listened to it for a while. I think you'll find some hidden gems in there.
Yeah, get through the first couple of bars and you'll be fine.
All right, so now we fast forward to the very end.
Fast forward many years.
To Wish Them Well. So like I said at the start, this is the second to last song in a concept album. Clockwork Angels was their first and only true concept album in the strict sense of that term. I think of a lot of their albums as concept albums and just how well the themes of the lyrics go together. And you can kind of weave a story through them just in your own mind. But they didn't set out to do that. That's just something that I like to do because it's fun to me. But... But this was the first time that they spent an entire album on a story. Because obviously they had previous epics where they took an entire side of an album to tell a story. But this was the first time where every single song fits in a narrative structure that has a specific part of the plot that is being moved forward.
And it's staying good.
It's so good.
Yeah, so this is almost the very, very end of the story. Shall we play the intro?
So there too, I think it's interesting that both of these songs have similar entrances into the song, where it's something repetitive and something that feels a little thin, and then it goes into something a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. I love that the way that Alex is playing the melody and the guitar in an almost in like an ornamental way, dancing around the main melody with the guitar like that. I think is so fun and pleasing to listen to.
Yeah, I feel like both of these short excerpts that we've given you of these songs, it really doesn't give you enough information to understand what's going on with the song, which is by design because we want you to go and listen to these songs. And like we said before, your enjoyment of this podcast is going to be a lot higher if you listen to the songs. But no, so this song, in the context of the story of the album, is the main character who has been on a journey basically his entire life. And so when you listen to this album, you need to have the album liner notes with you. Even if you don't own the album, you need to go online and you need to find the liner notes. CygnusX1.net, they have all that stuff on there, and it's all typed up so you can follow along if you have no other way to do it. But find a way to read it, because there's context that isn't sung. It's written there that you need. So the stuff that's written before the lyrics actually start, it says, victimized, bereaved, and disappointed, seemingly at every turn, I still resist feeling defeated or cynical. I have come to believe that anger and grudges are burning embers in the heart not worth carrying through life. The best response to those who wound me is to get away from them and wish them well. And then the lyrics just build upon that and really show how much this character has grown and illustrate what a mature person looks like. I love the message of this song. The idea that you don't have to engage with everybody, because there are people who are just going to try to tear you down or just think everything that you have to say is horrible. They're going to deliberately try to hurt you and do their worst. And rather than engaging with them and escalating things, you just wish them well and you just leave. Yeah, like it says in the lyrics, thank your stars you're not that way. Turn your back and walk away. Don't even pause and ask them why. Turn around and say goodbye.
That's really hard to do, especially in a divisive world, and people have really strong opinions about things and think that you're wrong but I'm right, and people say really mean things, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to turn your back and walk away, but it is the best thing sometimes to just not even let that be a part of your life. Just move on. Let yourself have your own peace.
Yeah, and obviously this is not the one solution to every interaction you could ever have, because there are times when a person wants a sincere dialogue. They want to have an understanding, and those are the people that, even if they're saying things that you completely disagree with or are maybe putting you on edge, I think being put on edge a lot of times is good, because it means that you're having to rethink some of the things that you believe, which is always an important thing to do. It doesn't mean that you just have to give up what you believe. It means that you're re-examining what you believe, because every time you re-examine, you may find something that will solidify your position and be like, oh yes, this is why I believe it and this is why it works for me. Or you may find, oh, this is what I believe, and what they're saying, it conflicts with that, and they're making some good points that maybe I can incorporate or learn more about, and then you go on and you change your mind down the road. But what we have to remember is most of the time, I would say very nearly 100% of the time, these interactions with people who have differing opinions, no one's mind is getting changed in that at the end of that conversation. But if both parties are respectful to each other and are willing to have an open dialogue, they can both go away and perhaps take themselves on a learning journey that they'll be able to reshape their beliefs and get a little bit closer to whatever it is that they truly feel is true and that will align with their worldview.
Dang. Yeah, totally agree. This song definitely is a very mature viewpoint of the world that Neil is portraying here.
Yeah, because this is the response to the people who are like the complete opposite of what I was just talking about.
Exactly.
The people who, on whatever social media of choice, are the ones who come out on whatever side of the dialogue and say things are this way and everybody else is stupid. And they just viciously attack anybody who says anything counter. And those are the people that you aren't going to do any good to either of you to engage with. Those are the people that you turn around and just walk away. But the most mature part of it all, wish them well.
Well, and this is what Neil says about the song. He says, "There's so much life experience in this story. It's not just a far-blown fantasy. Wish Them Well offers a very mature response to the world that it took me a long time to learn. In a lot of our early stuff, my lyrical inspiration was anger for sure. There's still a lot I'm angry about, a lot of human behavior that's appalling and despicable, but you choose what you can fight against. I always thought if I could just put something in words perfectly enough, people would get the idea and it would change things. That's a harmless conceit. With people too, you constantly think, if I'm nice to people and treat them well, they'll appreciate it and behave better. They won't, but it's still not a bad way to live."
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea that you can be a mature adult and accept the fact that things aren't going to be ideal. And yeah, your example isn't going to necessarily change anybody's mind or behavior. You can be a poster child for goodness and light in the world. And there are plenty of people that won't even care, and maybe that'll make them act worse. But you can still choose to live with that hope and desire that people will see that and change, but still have a realistic expectation that, like you said, they won't, but it is a good way to live.
Yeah, this discussion is by no surprise getting very deep and philosophical because of the nature of this song inspiring this conversation. And then so as far as the music goes, I love the music of this song. There's something about the quality, I don't know, not the quality, the tone of Getty's voice in this song, in this album, in this song, that is so pleasing and so wonderful to listen to. I just really like the tone of Getty's voice in this song.
Well, in this song, originally when I listened to the album, this was actually probably my least favorite song.
I think it's the easiest to write off from this album. Not that it's bad, but I think compared to the rest of the songs, it can just kind of be like, oh yeah, it's just that one track on the album. But I do really enjoy the music of this.
Yeah, and another thing that I thought was interesting, the producer of the album, of this and Snakes and Arrows, Nick Raskulinecz, he really pushed Neil drum-wise, getting him to do these things that Neil wouldn't have done on his own, because just they were really, really hard. But this is what Nick said about this track. He said, "This was the hardest drum track of any of the songs to get. Neil doesn't really play double time, so this was taking him out of what he usually does. That wasn't always the idea. In fact, that was me trying to keep the energy up. The tune wanted to move and the riff wanted to be big. It didn't want to be mellow or straight." And then he goes on to talk a little bit more about the process and kind of throwing things at him. But I think that's just so cool and speaks to the professionalism of Neil, that he'll do this stuff that he doesn't normally do. He'll at least give it a try. He won't fight back and say, "Oh no, I don't do that." But he'll do it. And I think this song, I think that's what in the end saves the song for me, is that at first what was jarring about it was that it was a different kind of drum sound. It's just that wailing snare and just that.
So it's it sounds like it's repetitive, but it's probably a lot more complex.
Yeah, like when you actually dig into it and see what's going on from a percussion standpoint, there is a lot to respect about it. And the layers of musicality and of musicianship in this song is what eventually won me over and helped me get over the fact that the echoed in "Wish Them Well."
I like
was
that.
it was a little jarring at first for me and just kind of off-putting, but over time, I really enjoy that now.
It's funny because I've never minded the echoey "Wish Them Well." I always enjoyed that part of it. But I find it interesting that both of these songs, though, have a repetitive kind of ending of just repeating the main idea of the song over and over until it fades out. But I think that it drives home the points of the songs really well, really effectively. Yeah, I just really like this song and all aspects of it. I love that beginning bit where they sing "All You Can Do Is Wish Them Well" twice, and then it changes completely and it's doing like the echoey guitar thing, and then all of a sudden it's going back to right at the beginning of the exact same thing. It's "All you can do is wish them well," bringing back the attention to the main point early on in the song. Like it doesn't waste time.
Yeah, and what this song does really well is have that really driving force, which pushes you through the difficulty of the message, which I think is really cool. Like the "Thank your stars, you're not that way, turn your back and walk away," which in the music, when you listen to it, that's almost how it feels. Like there's no pause or anything. It's just immediately, "Thank your stars, you're not that way, turn your back and walk away."
I love that. I love that Rush does abrupt things like that.
So now that we've kind of unpacked these songs,
Yeah, we haven't chosen.
we still need to get to the heart of the matter. Right to the heart of the matter.
To the heart of the matter. The starts. Please don't keep that in. I'm so tired. I love that song. Okay, anyway.
That's the winner of the pairing.
No, you're
I'm
not.
just kidding.
But keep this in. Going into this, I did not have a preference or a for sure, yeah, I'm choosing that one, because I knew going in that I loved both of these songs. And so even with this has been a really cool discussion, I'm still kind of, I don't know about this. I'm leaning towards "Wish Them Well" just because I do enjoy the music side of it a step above. But I do have a soft spot for Superconductor. But if we had to choose one, I would choose "Wish Them Well."
Yeah, I think because I'm thinking about parts of Superconductor that I really enjoy.
Entertainment.
Not that part.
Pretty sure you've said that like at least 4 times in this episode now.
No, but there are parts of Superconductor that I just really get into musically.
What?
Yeah, the key changes crack me up, but they really do. I enjoy them. They're pleasing unto me. But
Weirdo.
the overall consistency of "Wish Them Well" musically, I think that's what edges it out for me.
I agree.
Because both of them have great messages.
Totally.
And I think that you can dig really deep into either one. But "Wish Them Well," I think that's the song that I would rather have out of the two of them if I had to only pick one.
Yeah, I agree. I'd go with "Wish Them Well" as well. But again, in the light of still appreciating very much Superconductor as an awesome song. It really is an awesome song. Give it a second chance if you normally are like, oh, gross.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I guarantee you for every single one of these pairings in this least popular, people will be like, I can't believe anybody thinks that's the least popular.
Well, yeah.
But, you counter that with the people who are like, yep, it definitely needs to be in least popular, would never listen to again.
I'm sure that, we can appreciate why they would be, but most of us that are pretty devout Rush fans can at least appreciate most songs, even if they aren't our faves.
Yeah. But what I've learned from doing this so far is that when you actually dig into the songs, you appreciate them a lot more. And like what I ranted on before, the more you appreciate something, the more you start to like it, and the more you can acknowledge the skill that went into making that thing.
Oh yeah. It reminds me of Rush fans. The YouTube for Rush fans has a series called Stick It Out, that they choose a Rush song they don't particularly like, and they have to listen to it a bunch, and they, stick it out, and then they come back and see if things have changed, if they appreciate it or like it more. I think that's a really good idea too, and in connection to this podcast.
Yeah. So if there's no other message beside just go listen to these songs, then that would be mission accomplished. But if you only took two things from this podcast today, it would be go listen to those songs and look for ways that you can give things that you don't like another try, so that you can maybe appreciate the aspects of those things a little bit more. Maybe you can broaden your horizons and bring a little bit more understanding into your life.
All right, with that makes the winner of this episode wish them well. Thanks for listening, and next week we will be battling Spindrift versus Double Agent.
Look forward to that discussion, and we will see you next week on The Rush Discussion.